Diagnosing someone's skill as a troubleshooter can be difficult. You could ask them questions. Questions are good for determining someone's knowledge. Questions can give you some information about what someone knows about troubleshooting or the equipment, but they won't give you much insight into their ability to troubleshoot. Remember, troubleshooting is a skill. The better way is for them to demonstrate. Demonstrations provide much more comprehensive assessment. Not only do they show if a person knows about troubleshooting, they can show if that person has the ability and the skills to troubleshoot and how well they can do it. So what's the best way to demonstrate? On real equipment, this can work for your existing staff who already maintains the equipment. However, sending inexperienced persons to work on your critical equipment is really not a good idea. You could also build mock-ups of a piece of equipment. This can actually be costly to build the equipment. It would also be difficult to include a wide range of problems. And the mock-ups might not be realistic. So how about a simulation? Simulations are often more cost-effective. They provide a safe environment to assess, and they can provide a wider range of realistic scenarios to troubleshoot. So let's look at using a simulation to assess someone's skill. There are some key elements for any simulation to be used in this way. The simulation needs to mimic the real equipment as closely as possible. It needs to include a wide range of scenarios to troubleshoot. It must include tools that would normally be available to the user in the real environment. The system needs to be able to evaluate the skill level of the user and provide appropriate assessment. And lastly, it needs to record the results. So what I'd like to do next is to show you an example of how a simulation can be used to assess the troubleshooting skills of your existing staff, as well as some potential new hires. I'm just going to pause for a moment while I load my my other modules.
Right. So Warren's just going to load up the training system to give you a real view on how to test using our platform and show you some industry practices as well. So that's coming up.
Okay. So what I've brought up is the Simutech Course Manager. This is our administration portal, which is used to manage the users that will have access to the simulations, as well as to be able to look at the evaluate their progress and reports and as they go through these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over to actually setting up a user, and we'll go into actually how we set up a custom assessment. So when I log into, when I'm setting up assessment, we have actually 6 main simulations that we have available to assess people's skills against. If I click on here, you can see that there are 6 modules, and I'm going to pick the troubleshooting motor circuits as a module to show you this process. So we're going to do troubleshooting motor circuits. What I'm going to do is say, okay, we want to create a new assessment. So we can create this new assessment. We can call it TMC SS60. It's for this particular module. You can choose whether you want to have the problems, because you can put in a number of problems into this system. So we can choose to whether we want to do sequential or random. So we're going to do sequential. And there's 2 types of scoring. We can use a single attempt scoring or multiple attempt scoring. So we'll do the single attempt for this particular assessment. So the next step is to actually go in and pick which assessments you want to include. So in this case, There's a number of different scenarios to include. We're going to put in a couple of basic level ones to begin with, and I'll sort of show you them. We're going to look at let's look at B1. B1 is an open coil. B2 is there's a blown fuse. B3 is an open contact and a push button. So there's a lot of different types of problems we can put in. So actually, we'll put this one in B1. We'll put B4, which is an open winding in the transformer secondary. We'll include that, and we can go through. And I'm going to add one more advanced problem. So we'll include. Let's see what we've got here. There's a transformer problem. We've got to go. Let's include an open neutral wire. So we've got three scenarios that we put into this assessment. You can put up to 8. So now we just say next. So now what you can do is to put the prerequisites for the particular assessment. So you can put any kind of there's additional faults you can assign as a prerequisite. There's other custom tests that have been created. There's content portions. So there's a lot of different pieces of information you can put as a prerequisite. Right now, we're going to skip that because we want the person to be able to go directly to the assessment. We're going to create it. Here's where we can check to make sure that the assessment is created, what it's going to be created, and the type of faults that are in it. We're going to say OK. So it updates that. Now we can assign it to a group. I created a group called pre-hire. So we're going to assign it to that particular group. So anybody in this group will have access to this assessment. So we're going to add the test. Okay, so that part is done. What we're going to do now, I'm just going to minimize this, and we're going to go into our motor circuits program. And I'm going to click Start. And it takes me right directly to the assessment portion. I'm going to say Start Troubleshooting, and we're going to say OK. And the assessments show up in the Maintenance tab. So there's a few assessments that have been created. We can sort of see them all here. I'm going to just pick, let's say we can take a look at, this one has been done, so we don't want to do that one again. We can go into this one here, TMC Assess 10. So let's do that one there. They're all very similar assessments that I've created. So we're going to say Start Fault. And in this case, it says their overhead door can't be opened. So let's say Begin. So the scenario that we're going to be actually having to troubleshoot is a commercial garage door where you're supposed to be able to operate it. Right now, they're saying it won't open, which they're correct. What we can do is open we can turn the power off. We can engage the mechanical or disengage the motor, and then we can operate the door manually, which is fine. So I'm going to re-engage the motor. I'm going to turn the power on, and still the door won't go up. However, it does go down. So that gives me some clues as to what the problem is. I can take a look at the schematic diagrams. I can take a look at the wiring diagrams. So I have a lot of resource information here. I can use a meter to go into the control panel, and I can take meter readings. So let's take a meter reading in here just to sort of see if we're getting voltage to that contactor. I can, so we're getting voltage, it's not working. So I know the problem was the C1 contactor was bad because that's what I just put in place. So I'm going to say we're going to turn this off. And now I'm going to take my wrench. Whoop. I better lock it out first. If I don't lock this out, the program constantly monitors to make sure I'm not breaking any safety rules. So if I was to try to disconnect that contactor without locking it out, I'd be in trouble. So let's do this now. We can say we replace it. Okay, now we can remove the lock. turn the power on, and we can try to see if it works now. So we very quickly solved the problem. I'm going to close this. I'm going to exit this fault. And it gives us the fact that we were successful. And I'm going to exit from here now. And it shows me that I've completed the first problem. So now I'm going to exit this module, and we'll go in and take a look at the results. Sure, want to exit. Yeah. Okay, now we'll go back to our course manager, and we'll take a look at the reports. So I'm going to look at the reports for the motor circuits. I'm going to look at the assessment. 10 was the one I had just done. I'm going to look at the group of pre-hire. So there's 4 people in the group of pre-hire. I'll take a look at my results. And I'm going to take a look at this assessment here. So in this assessment, I see that I've got the scores for each attempt, each problem that I was given. I've got a 9.8 here, I've got 11, I've got a 0, I've got an 11. So this is an assessment that I had done before that's got some data in it. It also shows the amount of time I spent on each one of those problems. It shows what the criteria for successful completion. It shows the number of meter readings. There's a lot of data that it gathers, and it boils all that down into a score that you can see. So you can sort of see that these are the scores that I had, but we'll look at this user here, and his scores were different. We've got 5.811 and a couple of zeros. So this gives you a very unbiased view as to what a person's problem solving or troubleshooting skill actually is. So I know we're running real short on time, so I'm going to stop the demonstration right here. And I'm going to exit out of this. And but just to sort of summarize, we did a really quick look at creating an assessment and signing it, completing an assessment, reviewing the results. You know, the process is quite simple. You can see how easy it was. It's also very versatile. You can use it basically anywhere. You can send it out to people. You can use it within a group environment. I basically, it's a really, really effective way of assessing somebody's skills. So I hope you found the presentation both helpful and informative, and love to hear your feedback and any questions. Thank you.